Some roads were never meant to be conquered. They hang above endless abysses, cling to the sides of impossible cliffs, and cross waters powerful enough to erase a single mistake. Imagine standing at the start of a path barely wider than your feet, with an unstable wooden bridge shaking above a raging river, or sitting behind the wheel while your tires are only inches away from the edge of a deadly drop. Here, there are no second chances. No guardrails, no easy escape, no room for hesitation. Yet every day, people still risk their lives on these roads, not for adventure, but for work, survival, and the simple need to reach the other side. Today, we enter the world's most dangerous roads and bridges, places where human courage meets the raw power of nature. Hussaini Hanging Bridge, Pakistan. You're in Pakistan on the Hussaini Suspension Bridge, which is nearly 200 meters long. Every step makes the wooden planks under your feet shake, while cold, fast water flows below. At 30 meters high, danger is in every gap between the wood. In some spots, the gaps are so wide that one wrong step could make your heart stop. The further you go, the more the bridge swings. Mountain winds howl through rusty cables, bringing the sound of wood clashing and your own heavy breathing. Wear shoes with good grip, stay sharp, and remember one thing. Don't look down at the Hangzhou River for too long. Even though it's remote and risky, Hussaini has a strange pull. Every day, hundreds of thrill-seekers still step onto this bridge, gripping the freezing cables to feel how fragile humans are against nature. Carrick-a-Rede Bridge, Northern Ireland. From far away, the Carrick-a-Rede Bridge looks like a thin thread connecting two cliffs over the Northern Ireland Sea. But in reality, not everyone is brave enough to reach the end of this bridge, which is only 20 meters long and less than 1 meter wide. Storms from the North Sea hit at 30 m above the water, making the bridge swing wildly. The sound of the wind is terrifying, making the wood under your feet feel more fragile than ever. The rushing water hits the limestone cliffs, creating a scary white foam and wild sounds. At this point, everything depends on the ropes you're gripping so hard your knuckles turn white. Actually, many travelers have panicked and gotten stuck in the middle of the bridge, having to wait for a rescue team. Only when you step safely onto the other side do you truly understand the warning sign before the bridge. For visitor safety, please do not stop on the bridge. Angel's Landing, USA. Angel's Landing, USA. Don't let the name Angel's Landing fool you, because the journey to conquer it is like an expedition into a death trap. As soon as you enter Zion National Park, you'll see sharp red sandstone peaks standing tall in the sky. The 21 zigzag turns of Walter's Wiggles will drain your energy. Right after that is the classic Razor's Edge. Vertical cliffs nearly 450 meters high on both sides. At this point, the iron chain bolted to the rock is your only lifeline. Under the hot Utah sun, grip gloves and specialized hiking shoes are must-haves if you want to survive on the slippery rocks. Also, make sure you have a hiking permit and at least 2 to 3 L of water so you don't get dehydrated in the desert heat. At Angel's Landing, every step isn't just about moving. It's a test of calm, decisiveness, and grit. Sidu River Bridge, China. In the vast space of the Wuling Mountains, fog isn't just weather. It's a curtain hiding death. And when the fog clears, the Sidu River Bridge appears at a terrifying height of Meadows. If you can't picture that, think about standing on top of a 160-story building. This bridge is so high that they had to use rockets to launch the pilot cables across the deep abyss during construction. On the 2 kilometers long bridge deck, strong winds constantly beat against the steel frame. Salt fog can wipe out visibility in an instant. Standing on the edge of death, you can only hold the steering wheel tight and control your speed. Driving on the Sidu Bridge is a straight-up gamble with fate at half a kilometer high. However, this billion-dollar project is still the main artery of the G50 highway, shortening the trip from Shanghai to Chongqing. Mackinac Bridge, USA. At 60 m above the freezing water of Lake Michigan, the 8 kilometers long steel monster named Mackinac challenges everyone who dares to enter the wind's territory. The middle lanes aren't paved with concrete, but made of open steel grates. This design forces you to look straight down into the deep blue abyss right under your tires. As the wheels roll on the bridge, the sound of the wind whistling through the steel gaps and the roar of the engine create extreme psychological pressure. Just one storm, hitting at over 50 kilometers per hour, can make both the person and the car feel like they're being lifted off the bridge. A driver assistance service is available to rescue thousands of drivers who have panicked here. Whether you choose to conquer the mighty Mack yourself or sit in the passenger seat, the feeling of looking through the steel mesh down into Lake Michigan is a one-of-a-kind experience for your adventure diary. Killar-Kishtwar Road, India. On a narrow strip of land just wide enough for 4 wheels, you're crawling along a cliff at 2,500 meters high. Right next to the crunching gravel is a deep abyss with no guardrails. Welcome to the Killar-Kishtwar Death Road in India. Sharp rocks hang right over the roof of the car like a trap. If you are not careful, small bumps can scratch the vehicle. After rain, the road becomes slippery, with mud mixed with fallen rocks scattered everywhere. Worse, waterfalls pour directly from the mountaintop onto the windshield, wiping out visibility in seconds. At this point, driving skills seem useless against nature's fury. The only thing you can hear is the roaring waterfall and your heart beating fast in your chest. At Killar-Kishtwar, life isn't always in your hands, but decided by the grey cliffs and the deep abyss. Stelvio Pass, Italy. 48 hairpin turns, 2,757 m above sea level. No room for hesitation. Welcome to Stelvio Pass, known as Italy's Stone Snake. Going from the top to the bottom, you'll go through 48 sharp turns, numbered in reverse. The turns are so narrow that the wheels feel like they're touching thin air before you turn. Here, the sudden change in air pressure makes your ears pop. You have to grip the steering wheel until your hands are tired to handle the 12% slope. Stelvio is the holy land of the famous Giro d'Italia cycling race. Legendary riders have to use every last bit of breath to overcome the Cima Coppi peak that's always ready to crush their will. How many of these nearly 50 deadly turns do you think you're brave and strong enough to handle? Capilano Suspension Bridge, Canada. Tucked away among giant pine trees, the Capilano Suspension Bridge in Canada looks like a thin thread across a 70 meters deep abyss. If you're faint of heart, don't step on this 137-meter-long structure, because from the very first step, you'll feel the swaying. In the strong valley winds, the bridge constantly shakes with every step. The feeling of losing balance gets clearer when hundreds of steps vibrate together on the thin bridge. The Capilano River, rushing below the cliffs, makes anyone grip the handrails tight. In fact, this suspension bridge system can hold up to 91 tons, which is about 1,300 people and 91 adult elephants. The bridge is in Capilano Suspension Bridge Park, an ideal place to relax that attracts thousands of tourists every day. If you have the chance to visit Vancouver, you definitely shouldn't miss it. Chesapeake Bay Bridge, USA. Crossing the largest estuary in the US, the Chesapeake Bay Bridge is not just a road, but a tough psychological test. At nearly 7 kilometers long and 57 meters high, this bridge is often on the list of the scariest places in the world. Even though it's over the water, the guardrails here are extremely low. From far away, the bridge looks like a thin ribbon with no protection where a car could fly off the edge at any time. On the steep parts, visual effects trick you into thinking you're diving straight into the deep sea amidst crazy wind gusts. Few people know that these two parallel bridges were actually built 20 years apart. They stand there like two generations, working together to challenge the limits of courage. Kemaliye Stone Road, Turkey. Perched on a vertical cliff at over 1,000 meters high in the Karanlık Canyon, Kemaliye Taşyolu in Turkey is known as the most dangerous stone road in the world. Running along the turquoise Euphrates River, this 8.7 kilometers road isn't for beginners. You'll have to go through 38 dark tunnels with no lights at all. A deep abyss is always right under the wheels. Just one slight slip is enough to end everything. The road is covered in jagged rocks, and blind turns with no guardrails will make you hold your breath. Every second behind the wheel here is a tense battle with death. Without modern machines, locals used hand chisels and hammers to carve every meter of the road into hard rock over 132 years. Every chisel mark on the dark cave walls is not just history, but an epic of persistence, where the sweat and blood of many generations were shed to open a path through the grey stone mountains. Kokoda Track, Papua New Guinea. The Kokoda Track in Papua New Guinea is a real survival challenge, stretching 96 kilometers through the Owen Stanley Range. Here, you're officially on one of the toughest hiking trails in the world. Tighten your laces, because the steep terrain and thick tropical jungle will soon turn this journey into a nightmare. Heavy rain turns the ground into a giant mudslide, where every step is a fight to stay upright. No matter how tough you are, the sweltering heat and thick humidity of the equator will drain every last bit of energy from your chest. Throughout the 4 to 10-day journey, the fear of tropical diseases and poisonous insects is always there. The Kokoda Track is where the Australian Army and locals fought back the fascists in the bloody 1942 campaign. Kokoda isn't just a trail, but a living memorial to iron will and the great sacrifice for freedom in the heart of the jungle. Royal Gorge Bridge, USA. The Royal Gorge Bridge in the USA wasn't built for traffic, but to test the limits of courage. Standing 291 meters high in the Colorado sky, the bridge looks like a thin silver thread hanging between two vertical sandstone cliffs. The real fear starts when you take your first step on the bridge deck, made of over 1,000 rough wooden planks. A dry, click-clack sound echoes with every step, along with the wind blowing up from the abyss. Don't look down. The rushing Arkansas River deep below will send a chill down your spine. Today, at Royal Gorge Park, you can experience thrills with cable cars and zip lines across the abyss, or just walk among the clouds. Those are the moments you realize fear is left behind, replaced by absolute freedom. Hangzhou Bay Bridge, China. Stretching proudly over the world's most aggressive tidal waters, the 36 kilometers long Hangzhou Bay Bridge is an architectural wonder that amazes everyone. In the vast ocean, tropical storms and rushing tides can swallow everything. Thick fog sometimes wipes out the line between sky and sea, turning the road ahead into a black hole. To keep drivers from falling asleep, the guardrails on both sides are designed to change colors constantly. This rainbow makes your route a fascinating light show over the water. Don't forget to stop at land, between the sea and the sky, step onto the observation deck, and take in the magnificent view of the ocean. Among the waves, you'll see how small humans are compared to nature, but also how great they are for building a steel ribbon across the dangerous ocean. Aiguille du Midi Bridge, France. You're breathing the thin air at 3,842 meters high. Here, the short steel bridge, named Aiguille du Midi, appears as a powerful link between two sharp peaks of the majestic Mont Blanc. A freezing wind from the Alps hits your skin, pushing the feeling of danger to the max. Only a thin railing separates you from the abyss, thousands of meters deep. Right below, the eternal glacier looks bottomless enough to make even the bravest hearts stop breathing. To really touch the edge of fear, step into the void glass room with a transparent floor. With a zero-gravity feeling, you feel like you're floating in infinite space, both shaking and excited. If you're looking for a moment that changes your definition of adventure, let Aiguille du Midi lead the way. Come here to let the eternal white snow fill your eyes. Frozen Lake Highway, Canada. When the sub-zero cold drops to -30 to -40 degrees C, turning Canada's vast lakes into giant mirrors, a crazy transportation system is formed, the Frozen Lake Highway. In the silence of the Arctic, loud cracking sounds echo from the lake right under the car. That's the sound of ice expanding and contracting, a chilling warning from death. You have to keep a steady speed. If you hit the gas too hard, the car will create a resonant ice wave. The road will disappear instantly. When snowstorms hit, everything turns into a whiteout. No road markings, no visual points, completely losing your sense of direction. On every trip here, you don't just need a cool head to deal with the sound of cracking ice, but also top-tier driving skills to survive the brutal anger of the freezing Canadian winter. Karnali Highway, Nepal. If you ask a local driver about the Karnali Highway, they won't call it a road. They'll call it a gamble that stretches for 250 kilometers. At the highest passes, over 2,500 meters above sea level, the engine roars as the car struggles to climb. Right under the wheels is the sound of crunching gravel mixed with rocks falling into the abyss. The turns are so narrow, they hide your view. One side is a limestone cliff ready to slide. The other is an endless abyss with not 1 meter of guardrail. When facing an oncoming car on the narrow land, you might have to back up hundreds of meters to give way. At this point, being precise to the centimeter isn't just a skill, it's survival. Just 1 second of losing focus and the giant piece of steel under your feet becomes bait for the abyss. But it's in this forgotten place that those dangerous wheel rotations bring hope and life to the most remote villages on the Himalayan peaks. Byragad Fort, India. In the world of climbers, Byragad in India is one of the toughest spots to conquer in the Maharashtra region. Deep in the Sahyadri range, the fort is famous for its 90-degree stone steps carved directly into the vertical cliff. At 1,145 meters high, the air is thick and strong winds hit the cliff, waiting to blow you into space. Over centuries, many steps have been worn down, forcing you to cling to small cracks on the slippery stone with all your survival instincts. No guardrails, no safety nets. All safety now depends on the strength of your hands and the thin rope hanging over the deep abyss. In history, these stone steps were where ancient soldiers transported weapons and guarded the border among the clouds. That harshness turned this fort into a living legend, waiting for brave people to conquer it. Fairy Meadows Road, Pakistan. Carved entirely by hand by locals, Fairy Meadows Road sits on a cliff at 3,300 meters high at the foot of Pakistan's Killar mountain, Nanga Parbat. Here, safety standards are a luxury. The only thing you can hold on to is absolute trust in the instincts of the local jeep drivers. The road is just wide enough for one car with no guardrails at all, making every wheel turn a gamble with the abyss. The hairpin turns are so sharp that sometimes the back of the car hangs in mid-air as the driver swerves to get past the vertical cliffs. The roar of the engine and the dust hiding your view will keep your heart racing every single second. But as soon as the Jeep stops, all the stress disappears. The lush green meadows and the snow-capped peak of Nanga Parbat appear under the sun like a paradise. Simpson Desert, Australia. The Simpson Desert doesn't welcome you with hospitality. It's a red giant pretending to sleep under the central Australian sky. Behind that silence, over 1,100 perfectly parallel red sand dunes create a geological puzzle and a proud challenge. To cross this road, you must keep enough speed for momentum, but also be skillful enough not to let the wheels dig into the fine sand. Go too slow, and the car will immediately be swallowed by the red monster up to the axles. Go too fast, and flipping over in the middle of nowhere is likely. Tire pressure must be lowered to the max to increase contact. Every time you hit the gas comes with a prayer. You have to feel every tiny vibration of the sand to know if you're really in control or just pray for the red desert. Lake Hillier, Australia. You're standing in front of Lake Hillier, one of nature's biggest mysteries on Middle Island, in the Recherche archipelago of Western Australia. Between the deep blue ocean and the vast eucalyptus forest, Lake Hillier appears with a bright pink color, thick like strawberry milk. This isn't an optical effect. Even if you scoop up a glass of water, that pink color stays loyal and thick. The eternal pink of Lake Hillier is a perfect mix of Dunaliella salina algae and Haloarchaea bacteria. They produce carotenoid pigments to survive in extreme saltiness, dyeing the lake bright pink. Located isolated in a strict nature reserve that can't be reached by road, silence covers the still lake. A feeling of fascination mixed with a bit of fear rises when you realize you're looking at a laboratory of nature, where the most beautiful thing also contains harshness that humans can hardly touch.